I always say wrestling is like the circus. If you don't like the clowns, maybe you like the acrobats, there's certainly something for everyone. That's not to say that all pro wrestling is for everyone. I wouldn't feel comfortable letting my kiddo watch someone get smashed with a light tube, but your mileage may vary. But you can't deny that today's WWE product is geared more towards children than it was, say, during the Attitude Era. Due to their partnership with Mattel that was extended recently, they have to keep things more on the PG side, and yet, some of the people who are portraying these PG characters have some R-rated past. Now, we're not here to hate on anyone due to the road they took to stardom. It's just kind of funny that the woman who once wielded a used tampon as a weapon now has her own action figure. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Rasslin. Let's take a look at 7 WWE Superstars with controversial pasts. Now, before we get into that, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and power bomb that notification bell. Also, we've got merch. Show the world that you're a part of the brotherhood, even if you're a sister, with some of our snazzy apparel, stickers, and other goodness. Number 1. Jacob Fatu. I don't know if I've ever fallen in love with a wrestler faster than I have Jacob Fatu. I think it's something about characters that aren't necessarily good or bad, they're just like a force of nature. Can't get mad at a snake for biting you, it's what snakes do. It's your fault for getting in that snake's way. I feel like Asuka had a similar vibe back in NXT. She was a friggin' wrecking ball. And kudos to the WWE for realizing what they have in the Samoan Werewolf and protecting him even when he's squaring off against big names like Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Also, I'm just now appreciating how weird the nickname Samoan Werewolf is. So, with his trajectory seeming pretty clear, that being a top name in WWE, the original path he was headed down was a much darker one. In 2008, when he was only 18 years old, Fatu was arrested in Sacramento County, California, on suspicion of robbery. This early encounter with the law marked a pivotal moment in his personal development. While incarcerated, Fatu had a transformative experience that influenced his future career path. He recounted watching his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, perform on WWE television while he was in jail, which inspired him to pursue professional wrestling. This moment ignited his desire to change his life's trajectory and follow in his family's wrestling footsteps. Following his release, Fatu dedicated himself to pro wrestling, training under the guidance of his uncle Rikishi. He began his professional career in 2012, competing in various independent promotions before making a significant impact in Major League Wrestling. In MLW, he achieved notable success, including a record-setting 819-day reign as the MLW World Heavyweight Champion. In 2024, Fatu transitioned to the WWE, joining the SmackDown brand as a part of the Bloodline stable, further solidifying his status in the wrestling world. And while his past record may affect his ability to perform overseas, the WWE has shown significant confidence in him by having him win the United States title over LA Knight at WrestleMania 41. Number 2. Logan Paul. Now, I know what you're thinking. Senior Siete, the last time you did this topic, you mentioned Logan Paul. Well, true. We talked about the time this fella decided that stomping around a Japanese unalive forest was a swell idea. But that's the thing with Mr. Paul and lists about questionable behavior. He truly is the gift that keeps on being an asshole. Which is a shame because he gets it. He gets what it takes to be a heel with today's audiences. Maybe because most of it isn't acting. And he is so naturally gifted in the ring. If anything, he's a throwback. You know, pro wrestling has carny roots. In the old kayfabe days, the performers would try to con the audience into believing it's real. And if anybody knows anything about conning their audience, say it with me, folks, it's Logan Paul. In June 2021, Logan Paul promoted a cryptocurrency called Dink Doink, presenting it as a humorous meme coin. Dink Doink. He described it as the dumbest, most ridiculous coin I've ever seen, and that's why I'm all in. Through his social media platforms and his podcast, Paul encouraged his audiences to invest, leading to a significant spike in the token's value. And what perchance was Dink Doink? Well, it was a crude cartoon series that shamelessly swiped its art style from South Park. The plan was to combine crypto with entertainment somehow, and when the series inevitably ended up on Netflix and the Cartoon Network, as they suggested in their mission statement video, everybody would make a mint. However, within weeks, Dink Doink's value plummeted by over 90%, leaving many investors with substantial losses. Now, despite portraying himself as an unaffiliated investor, evidence suggests that Paul had a more integral role in Dink Doink's creation. Jake Broito, the project CEO and Paul's roommate, stated in an interview that Paul helped conceptualize the coin, even going so far as to design its mascot on his phone. Additionally, blockchain analysis revealed transactions between wallets associated with early Dink Doink holdings and Paul's public wallet, indicating potential financial benefit. These revelations led to accusations that Paul misled his audience about his involvement, promoting the coin under the guise of a casual investor while potentially profiting from its rise and fall. Fortunately, this would be the last time Logan would try to scam his audience. Well, yeah, no, except for CryptoZoo, but maybe we'll hold on to that one for next time. Number 3, Scott Hall. When you look at a list of wrestlers who have never won a world title but had all the talent and skills to do so, at the top of that list you're going to find Owen Hart, Roddy Piper, and Scott Hall. Scott Hall spent years trying to find his footing in professional wrestling. Throughout the 1980s, he bounced around territories and promotions, struggling to stand out despite his towering frame and his undeniable athleticism. Early on, he was saddled with the moniker Magnum Scott Hall, a nickname designed to evoke comparisons to Magnum P.I., complete with a thick mustache, and a babyface persona. He spent time in the AWA under Vern Gagne, where he paired with Kurt Hennig, later known as Mr. Perfect, in a very promising tag team. Now, while Hall showed potential, the AWA's decline and lack of national exposure limited his growth. He also had short stints in WCW under different gimmicks, including the Diamond Stud, with 2 Ds, a character that flirted with cool, heel energy but didn't quite land with the audience. With each repackaging, Hall seemed to get closer to a winning formula, yet he never fully captured the attention of the mainstream wrestling audience. That all changed when he joined the WWE in 1992 and pitched a gimmick inspired by Tony Montana from Scarface. Vince McMahon, unfamiliar with the film, loved the pitch anyway, and Razor Ramon was born, which is classic Vince, right? Zack Ryder was doing Jersey Shore, and Vince didn't even know what he was talking about. The Razor character oozed swagger, menace, and charisma. If something happened to that gold, something going to happen to you, Chico. Everything clicked. The accent, the gold chains, the cocky attitude, his finishing move renamed the Razor's Edge. It was iconic. For the first time, Scott Hall wasn't just a guy with potential. He was a star. As his fame grew during the 1990s, so did his dependence on substances, a struggle that began earlier in his career, but escalated during his time in both WWE and WCW. Combination of pain from wrestling-related injuries, the constant pressure of life on the road, all contributed to his addiction. Hall's in-ring performances began to suffer, and his personal life unraveled, with multiple stints in rehab and highly publicized incidents of erratic behavior. One thing that added to this pressure was an unresolved trauma from his past. January 1983, Scott Hall was involved in a life-altering incident while working as a bartender at a nightclub in Orlando, Florida. A confrontation with a patron escalated when the man vandalized Hall's car. Hall confronted him, leading to a struggle over a firearm. Hall gained control of the weapon and fatally shot the man in the head. He was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, but only spent 3 days in jail before the charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence. In an ESPN E60 interview, Hall would say, it's burnt in my brain, like I drilled him. He went down and his shirt went up and he was reaching for the gun, so I reached for it too. We wrestled around with it, I took it and shot him in the head. I did probably the most unhealthy thing I could have done. I should have sought counseling right then, but I didn't know anything. I was a kid. This traumatic event contributed to his personal struggles he faced throughout his wrestling career, including battles with addiction and mental health issues. Despite these challenges, Hall found support through friends and colleagues, notably Diamond Dallas Page, who helped him on his journey towards recovery. Hall's story serves as a poignant example of how past traumas can shape an individual's life and the importance of seeking help in the aftermath of such events. Number 4. The Rock. Dwayne Johnson's story of hardships on the road to becoming the most electrifying man in sports entertainment and one of, if not the biggest name in Hollywood, are very well documented. His childhood was marked by instability, financial hardship, and constant movement, which left a lasting impact on him. As the son of professional wrestler Rocky Johnson, young Dwayne grew up in a nomadic lifestyle, moving frequently as his father chased wrestling bookings across the country and overseas. The family often struggled to make ends meet. At one point, they were even evicted from their apartment in Hawaii, and Johnson recalls watching his mother cry as they faced homelessness. He also got into trouble as a teen, getting arrested multiple times for theft, fighting, and check fraud before the age of 17. Living in tough neighborhoods and trying to find his identity in a world that often felt stacked against him, Johnson leaned heavily into sports as a way out. Football became his salvation, providing structure and a sense of purpose, but those early years shaped the grit and humility that would later define his journey to fame. After a promising college football career at the University of Miami, injuries and roster cuts dashed his NFL hopes. He ended up playing for the CFL Calgary Stampeders, but was cut just 2 months into the season. Broke, depressed, and living in a small apartment he could barely afford, Johnson famously had some small amount of money in his pocket, I can't remember exactly how much, when he decided to give professional wrestling, his father's vocation, a real shot. Now, all of this is well documented in the NBC series Young Rock that followed the People's Champ from a small child up into his early days as a movie star. Now, The Rock is as polished as they come these days. Every talk show appearance and social media post seems to be a way to push forward the Dwayne Johnson brand, much loved Terramana Papatui. But before he was so careful with his public persona, he recounted an incident from his early 20s where he attacked a woman for jokingly making fun of his father, Rocky Johnson. In his autobiography, The Rock says Dwayne would say, "The next thing I knew, my hands were wrapped around her throat, squeezing the oxygen out of her tiny body. This poor woman weighed about 120 pounds. I was moving her around like a rag doll, clearing glasses and dishes from the table with her body as she choked and gasped and scratched at my wrists." Yikes. The TV show Young Rock was very good at giving a warts and all representation of his upbringing, but that absolutely did not make it to any one of those episodes. Number 5. Booker T. Booker T. Huffman and his brother Stevie Ray Huffman started professional wrestling in 1990 and quickly shot up to the big leagues when they began performing as the tag team Harlem Heat in WCW. It was there that they became one of the most decorated teams in company history, winning the WCW World Tag Team titles on 10 separate occasions. Booker's natural charisma, agility, and in-ring talent set him apart. When he transitioned to singles competition, he truly came into his own. He won the WCW World Heavyweight title 5 times, an especially significant feat as one of the few black wrestlers to achieve that level of success in a major promotion at that time. He was also my go-to guy in WCW NWO Revenge, for whatever that's worth. Booker T's WWE career was just as memorable. He brought his signature blend of intensity, athleticism, and entertainment, whether as a serious title contender or as the over-the-top King Booker character. But much like Jacob Fatu, his life could have taken a very different path due to a similar mistake he made when he was in his early 20s. In 1987, Booker pled guilty to charges of armed robbery for his role in a series of fast food restaurant heists while working at one of the locations. He served 19 months in prison, an experience that became a turning point in his life. On Lillian Garcia's Chasing Glory podcast, Booker would say, "I can honestly say it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my life that I ended up going to prison. Because I got a chance to literally just stop and rethink, my whole life. I had 2 years to rethink about what my life was about, what I wanted my life to be, and I always knew that I was not one of those kids that wanted to be on the corner in my same neighborhood for the rest of my life. And I saw so many of those people. I can go to my neighborhood right now and I'll see somebody that I grew up with, and I just knew I didn't want to be that person. And I knew prison wasn't going to hold me back. Also, I knew that life had something better for me. I just didn't know what it was." Outside of the ring, Booker has become an advocate for second chances, using his platform to mentor at-risk youth and promote education and accountability. He also founded Reality of Wrestling, a Houston-based wrestling promotion and school that gives new talent a chance to break into the industry. Number 6. Candice Michelle. Before becoming a WWE superstar, Candice Michelle was already carving out a name for herself in the world of modeling and entertainment. Early on, she found success as a glamour and fitness model, appearing in publications like Maxim and Playboy, which helped her gain visibility. She landed small roles in shows such as Seventh Heaven, Party of Five, and Monk, as well as background parts in films like Dodgeball and A Man Apart. Her big break came when she was cast in a highly talked about Super Bowl commercial for GoDaddy.com in 2005. The provocative ad, which played off themes of censorship and sex appeal, stirred controversy but became a cultural moment, turning Candice into a recognizable face almost overnight. She would go on to star in several more GoDaddy ads over the years, becoming a staple of the brand's edgy marketing campaigns. This exposure, coupled with her striking presence, made her a compelling choice for WWE during their Diva Search era. The company was actively recruiting women with mainstream appeal and media experience. And I know the Diva Search gets a lot of heat these days, but honestly, I would never fault anyone for using it to get a foot in the door as long as they made a serious effort to get good at the craft once they were in. And Candice was definitely one of those people. For someone of that era, given limited training and precious in-ring television time, she did quite well for herself. It's probably not fair to compare to the likes of the Bianca Belairs and Charlotte Flairs of today, who were given time and facilities to get really good. For a time, Candice Michelle was definitely a serviceable talent. Candice worked hard to prove herself as more than just a model-turned-wrestler. She trained intensively and gradually improved her in-ring skills, eventually earning the respect of fans and peers alike. Her dedication paid off in 2007 when she defeated Melina to become the first WWE Women's Champion to come from the Diva Search. The reign cemented her as a legitimate competitor during an era when women's wrestling was often downplayed. Unfortunately, injuries would sideline her multiple times, eventually leading to her release from the WWE in 2009. Now, interestingly, while some wrestlers have alter egos like Mr. America, or The Fiend, The Demon, or El Grande Americano, apparently, before her WWE career, Candice had an alter ego as well, and that alter ego appeared in several adult films, particularly where the female protagonist is being tied up against her will. Now, we're not going to point you in the right direction to find any of this. You got Google. Figure it out yourself if you're so inclined. And hey, we're not judging. As long as everything is consensual and between adults, hey, have at it. You know, if it's good enough for Wonder Woman, it's good enough for us. Number 7, William Regal. William Regal is often cited as one of pro wrestling's greatest what-if stories, a performer whose natural talent, psychology, and presence could have taken him to the very top were it not for personal demons that interrupted his momentum. Inside the ring, Regal was a master technician, fluent in British catch wrestling, seamlessly blending vicious strikes with holds and counters that few could replicate. He had a rare ability to make everything look so real, a trait that earned him the respect of his peers and younger generation of wrestlers. He also had sharp comedic timing and an innate understanding of character work, whether playing a sneering aristocrat or a grizzled authority figure. Behind the scenes, Regal's character was nearly derailed by serious substance abuse. As he rose through the ranks, he developed a dependence on prescription pills and alcohol, a lifestyle compounded by the grueling wrestling schedule and lingering injuries. Regal has openly admitted that he reached a point where he was taking dozens of painkillers a day, drinking heavily, and barely functioning. In fact, it was this lifestyle that landed him in an Alaskan prison during his days in WCW, and what's worse is, he had no idea how he even got there. In his autobiography, Walking a Golden Mile, Regal would say, "I woke and looked around me. I was in a 15-foot by 15-foot jail cell with bars all around. Wasn't alone either. My new buddies were all wearing gang colors and staring straight at me. Looking down, I found I was wearing an orange jumpsuit, about 3 sizes too small, and a pair of flip-flops. I couldn't remember donning this strange garb. After a while, I plucked up the courage to ask one of them, 'Where am I?' 'In jail,' came the predictable answer. 'I know that,' I persisted, 'but where am I?' 'Anchorage.' 'What? Anchorage where?' 'Anchorage, Alaska.' I thought my informant was winding me up and started getting the hump with him. 'Don't f*** about,' I demanded. 'Where am I?' The whole cell erupted in laughter and confirmed he was indeed telling the truth. Anchorage, Alaska. What was I doing there? When Regal was finally able to piece things together, he realized that he had been intoxicated on an international flight and when he was using the restroom, had urinated on a flight attendant's shoe. The plane would make an emergency landing in Anchorage due to Regal and other passengers' unruly behavior, and he would eventually be charged with causing a disturbance on an airplane, urinating on the airplane, and like we said before, urinating on the flight attendant's shoe. Unfortunately, this visit to jail wasn't the wake-up call Regal needed, as he would proceed to make more questionable decisions that would affect his life and his career. But it seems like he has figured things out since then and has become somewhat of an elder statesman of the sport, a revered mentor who has helped shape modern pro wrestling. But the lingering what-if of his interrupted prime continues to be one of wrestling's most interesting thought exercises. Well, there's our list. Did I leave out any other WWE superstars with controversial past? If so, please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a big leg on that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Singer Siete for 7 Rasslin saying bye-bye.